Have you ever noticed that your dog sometimes ignores you? Even when they clearly hear you. Not because they didn't understand, but because, in that moment, they chose not to listen. And if you think that means your dog is being stubborn, then you're missing something much deeper about how dogs actually think. Because dogs don't behave randomly. Every look, every movement, every moment of silence is communication. And once you understand what your dog is really saying, you'll never look at their behavior the same way again. Most people believe that dogs follow commands out of love, but that's only partially true. Dogs don't just follow commands. They follow energy, consistency, and trust. And when any one of these is missing, their behavior starts to change. Let's take a simple example. You call your dog. Sometimes they come running instantly. Other times, they just look at you and stay where they are. Same dog, same command. So what changed? It wasn't the word. It was the meaning behind the moment. Dogs read context far better than words. They analyze your tone, your posture, your emotional state. If your energy feels uncertain, your dog feels it. If your commands lack consistency, your dog notices it. And slowly, they begin to make their own decisions instead of following yours. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They think their dog needs more training. But in reality, their dog needs more clarity. Because in a dog's world, clarity equals safety. And safety builds trust. Now here's something even more interesting. Your dog doesn't see you the way you think. Not exactly as a master, and not just as a friend, but as something in between. A leader and leadership in a dog's mind is not about control. It's about stability. A stable leader is predictable, calm, consistent, and most importantly, emotionally controlled. If you react too much, your dog becomes uncertain. If you're inconsistent, your dog becomes confused. And when confusion builds, behavior problems begin. This is where things like ignoring commands, pulling on the leash, or even mild aggression start to appear. Not because your dog is bad, but because your dog is trying to figure out the structure. Dogs are pack animals, and every pack needs order. If they don't clearly see it, they start testing boundaries. Not to dominate you, but to understand where they stand. Now think about this. Have you ever left your dog alone and come back to find things destroyed? Shoes chewed, furniture scratched, maybe even accidents inside the house. Most people call this bad behavior, but in reality, this is often separation anxiety. And it comes from something very deep. Attachment. Dogs form strong emotional bonds, stronger than most people realize. To them, you are not just part of their life. You are their entire world. So when you suddenly disappear, without explanation, their brain goes into stress mode. Their heart rate increases. Their cortisol levels rise. And they try to cope. Chewing, scratching, barking. These are not acts of revenge. They are attempts to release anxiety. And here's the part most people don't understand. The more emotional your goodbye is, the harder it becomes for your dog to stay calm after you leave. Because you're signaling that something big is happening, something important, something worth reacting to. But calm departures create calm minds. Now, let's talk about something even more subtle. Eye contact. When your dog looks into your eyes, it's not just a look, it's a connection. Studies show that eye contact between dogs and humans actually increases oxytocin levels, the same hormone responsible for bonding between parents and children. But there's a catch. Too much direct staring, especially from above, can feel threatening to a dog. Because in the animal world, staring is often a sign of challenge. So your dog is constantly balancing between trust and instinct. And this is where body language becomes everything. A relaxed dog moves freely. Soft eyes, loose tail, calm breathing. But a stressed dog shows signals most people miss. Yawning when not tired, looking away frequently, licking lips without food. These are calming signals. Your dog's way of saying, I'm uncomfortable, but I don't want conflict. And if these signals are ignored repeatedly, they can escalate. First into avoidance, then into defensive behavior, and sometimes into aggression. Not because your dog is dangerous, but because their subtle communication was never understood. Now here's a powerful truth. Your dog is always communicating, even in silence, even when they do nothing. And the more you learn to read these signals, the stronger your relationship becomes. Because trust is not built through commands. It's built through understanding, through consistency, through emotional stability. Your dog doesn't need you to be perfect, but they do need you to be clear, to be calm, to be someone they can rely on. Because in their world, uncertainty is stress, and clarity is peace. So the next time your dog ignores you or behaves in a way you don't understand, don't just correct them. Observe them. Ask yourself, what is my dog trying to tell me right now? Because the answer might change everything. And if you start seeing your dog not just as a pet, but as a thinking, feeling being with instincts shaped over thousands of years, you'll unlock a completely different level of connection. Now I want to ask you something. Has your dog ever done something that confused you, but now maybe makes a little more sense? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to truly understand your dog on a deeper level, make sure you subscribe. Because once you start learning how dogs really think, you can't unsee it. And trust me, this is just the beginning.